Welcome back, everybody, to This Week in Massachusetts Theater, Episode 7, for the week of October 17th, 2025. Now, this past week was very busy, so we have 4 new reviews in this episode, which will include reviews for Anything Goes, which just closed, which ended its run in Gardner last weekend, but we wanted to give them that review. Blithe Spirit, which just opened its run in Fitchburg for New Players Theater Guild. Tick Tick Boom, which is running in Concord, Mass, concurrently with their show The Counter. And the musical 6, which is happening in Worcester, but will continue its North American tour as it heads to Providence immediately after. So you'll want to take a look at that. We'll also take a look at, but first, before we get to the reviews, we want to take a look at the balance of October shows. And again, if I missed any company, I apologize, but do keep sending me information to reviews@METRMag.com so I can get you added to the METRMag site for future performances. And now, on with the show. After a busy start to the 2025-2026 theater season, a number of shows will be concluding their various runs by October 19th, including Radium Girls by D.W. Gregory, which only has 2 performances, October 17th and 18th, at Infinity Performing Arts in Hopedale, Mass. Lizzie by Stephen Cheslick DeMar, Tim Maynor, and Alan Stevens Hewitt at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. The musical Once by Enda Walsh, Glenn Hansard, and Marketa Iglova at the Majestic Theater in West Springfield. Thornton Wilder's Our Town at the Lyric Stage Company in Boston. 300 Paintings by Sam Kisajukian at the American Repertory Theater in Cambridge. Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express, adapted by Ken Ludwig from the Theater of Northeastern Connecticut at the Bradley Playhouse in Putnam, Connecticut. Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma by New England Public Theater in Foxborough, Mass. Blithe Spirit by Noel Coward at New Players Theater Guild in Fitchburg, Mass. The musical 6 by Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss at the Hanover Theater for the Performing Arts in Worcester, Mass. And Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors by Gordon Greenberg and Steve Rosen from Taunton Performing Arts Center in Taunton, Mass. All those shows are concluding their runs by October 19th. So make sure that you give them a call. For tickets and more information on any of those upcoming shows, you can contact the theaters directly or use the links available on the listings at the METRMag site. Continuing shows include Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda, continues from Broadway in Boston at the Citizens Opera House in Boston through November 2nd. The Counter by Megan Kennedy continues at Umbrella Arts Center in Concord, Mass. Through November 9th. Tick Tick Boom by Jonathan Larson also continues at Umbrella Arts Center in Concord, Mass. Through November 23rd. Sardines, A Comedy About Death, written and performed by Chris Grace, continues at Huntington Theater Company in Boston, Mass. Through November 16th. William Shakespeare's Macbeth continues from Actors Shakespeare Project in Watertown, Mass. Through October 26th. Death Trap by Ira Levin will be opening this weekend from Calliope Productions in Boylston, Mass., running through October 26, 2025. Other shows opening this weekend and next week are the musical Something Rotten from A Common Thread Theater Company in Framingham, Mass., which runs through October 26th. Ride the Cyclone by Jacob Richmond and Brooke Maxwell hits the stage at the Theater Company of Saugus through October 26th. Now, this one may sound familiar. Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors by Gordon Greenberg and Steve Rosen. Well, while it's closing in Taunton, it's also going to be opening the season for Worcester County Light Opera Company in Worcester, Mass., running through October 26th. The Cher Show, with a book by Rick Elise, premieres at the North Shore Music Theater in Beverly through November 2nd. Another one that may sound familiar, 6, continues its national tour at the Providence Performing Arts Center in Providence, Rhode Island, from October 22nd through October 26, 2025. Robert Harling's Steel Magnolias begins its run at the Majestic Theater in West Springfield from October 23rd through November 30th. Murder for Two by Joe Kinosian and Kellen Blair will debut at the Greater Boston Stage Company in Stoneham, Mass. On October 24th, running through November 9th. Wait Until Dark by Frederick Knott and Jeffrey Hatcher premieres at the Cannon Theater in Devens, Mass. October 24th and continues through November 9th. Lizard Boy, a new musical by Justin Huertas, debuts at the Speakeasy Stage Company in Boston, Mass. On October 24th and runs through November 22nd, 2025. Finally, Honeymoon at Graveside Manor by Pat Cook is a Halloween treat from Pasture Prime Players in Charlton, Mass., premiering October 31st and running through November 9th, 2025. Again, for tickets or more information on any of these upcoming shows, you can contact the theaters directly or use the links that are available on the listings at METRMag.com. If you are seeking a timeless show, then Umbrella Arts presents the musical Tick, Tick, Boom, which just might have you going back for seconds. Written by Jonathan Larson, Tick, Tick, Boom tells the story of an aspiring composer named John, played by Johnny Shea, who lives in Soho in New York City in 1990. Larson himself lived in New York City and ultimately gave to the world his masterpiece, the musical Rent, which, while now sorely dated, serves as a reflection of the world Larson knew well. Before his untimely death in 1996, the musical obviously touched a generation of youth coming of age during this time that seemed to relate to his experiences. But if I'm being honest here, I've always found Tick, Tick, Boom a slightly better story. Part of this may be because there aren't as many stories being told here with fewer characters to try and keep track. In Tick, Tick, Boom, John, obviously Larson, but is intentionally kept vague for artistic license, is turning 30 and is panicking that he made the wrong career choice to be a composer. Originally conceived as a rock monologue, Larson workshopped Tick, Tick, Boom in 1990, and after his death, the story became resurrected by playwright David Auburn of Pulitzer Prize-winning play Proof fame and premiered off-Broadway in 2001. In 2002, the production was nominated for 7 Drama Desk Awards and won an Outer Critics Circle Award for Outstanding New Off-Broadway Musical. For more information and to read the full review, visit METRMag.com. But briefly, the Umbrella Arts show works quite well as a 3-actor musical, allowing John to interact with 2 other actors playing Michael, played by Anthony Perez Jr., and Susan, played by Vanessa Calantropo, while they also portray all the other roles in the show. Director-choreographer Elise Robbins has beautifully streamlined the storytelling, keeping us engaged from the moment actor Johnny Shea begins his role as John. Shea is completely mesmerizing as John, who finds himself at a pivotal crossroads of his life where he may be forced into a decision he is loath to, perhaps, accept. Set in 1990, very few residences had home computers or cell phones, and the only handheld technology was most likely a pager. Google it, kids. In fact, Robbins has included some exceptionally funny and cleverly choreographed moments using a phone cord. That was something that once was attached to phones, also for the benefit of you kids out there. John talks directly to us, including us in on his thoughts and his dreams and his despairs, and he also shares his anxiety, and particularly he is anxious about his upcoming workshop premiere of his musical entitled Superbia. John dreads his encroaching 30th birthday, but Susan, a struggling dancer that teaches ballet on the side, insists on throwing him a party. In a captivating performance by Calantropo, we see a relationship also coming to a crossroads, with John as confused about their direction as a couple as he is as to his own direction as an individual. Perez is a delight to watch as Michael, who has been friends with John since they were kids. Michael gave up his acting dream to pursue a career in marketing because, as he tells John, he doesn't miss starving. Michael even tries to help John land a job at his firm, resulting in a hilarious, if also disastrous, scene at a brainstorming session where John is asked to help in the naming of a cooking fat substitute. There's real camaraderie between the 3 performers, with Perez and Calantropo vacillating between the multiple characters, making them fun to watch, even when some moments aren't necessarily calling us calling for us to be amused. The set for Tick, Tick, Boom is a scaffolding masterpiece of its own, cleverly structured to offer us different settings with seemingly minimal effect. The three actors are all involved in any redressing of the scene, which keeps the show's 90 minutes at a brisk tempo. One of the reasons I like the score perhaps even more so than Rent is in the balanced sharing of the vocals by the trio of the actors. While the story is clearly about John, each actor is given their moment to shine in the story, and also vocally shine they do. The entire score is exceptionally performed by the band located on the second level of the scaffolding, but some standout songs include Why, sung by John, Green, Green Dress, sung by John and Susan, Johnny Can't Decide, sung by John, Susan, and Michael, and the show's opener closer, 3090. Tick, Tick, Boom continues in Concord at the Umbrella Arts Center through November 23rd, 2025. And for tickets and information, you can visit the Umbrella Arts Center or call 978-371-0820 or visit theumbrellarts.org. The Hanover Theatre launches into their latest Broadway series in a triumphant fashion with the juggernaut musical comedy Six, now playing in Worcester. By the way, right off the bat, I just want to emphasize that I'm not using the terms mega hit or juggernaut lightly. This show has absolutely struck a chord that has elevated far above mere musical. It is part rock concert, part rally, part social movement. It is unlike any other show to hit the stage in a long time, and seemingly was an instant hit right out of the gate or even from the moment it was conceived. The show can be played anywhere and seemingly has. Broadway, on the road, theme parks, cruise ships, truck stops, whatever. Let's be honest, Worcester. Isn't it surprising that it has taken this long for Six to reach the Hanover stage? More on that in a moment. But first, in February 2020, Six began Broadway previews, and just before its scheduled Broadway opening on March 12, 2020, all Broadway theaters shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As Six resumed its run in 2021, it became the first new musical to open on Broadway post-pandemic. With book, music, and lyrics by Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss, Six is a retelling of the lives of the six wives of Henry VIII from the perspective of reclaiming their roles in herstory. Already the above concept seems especially relevant today. The Six, a.k.a. the Queens, discuss what it was like centuries ago when dealing with the unfeeling patriarchal norms of an ignorant society that saw women as mere birthing vessels designed exclusively to produce heirs for the men and then, if needed, be discarded, and in very nasty ways. Thank goodness we have evolved in America beyond such outmoded, antiquated thinking. That is before election years 2016 and 2024. Fueling the above concept is an electrified infusion of estrogen-empowered moments that has men in the audience looking around at one another asking the question, dudes, are we safe here? I know. I was one of them. The musical is short, roughly 90 minutes, no intermission, and is presented in the form of a concert-style singing competition. For more information on this show, please visit METRMag.com. But just to advise, by the time we get through all the wives, it is at this point that the show takes a turn and reflects on a number of higher themes, such as historians reducing their contributions to world history to mere footnotes as spouses. With an electrifying score, Six will have many feeling like the show is being broadcast at 360-degree surround sound because of the sheer volume of people singing along in the audience all around you. However, the musical Six also cleverly provides a substantive message by helping us look at and re-examine what history or herstory is and what it has excluded for centuries. Moving forward, this omitted information needs to be included so that all feel represented in a fair and just manner. 6, the musical continues at the Hanover Theatre in Worcester until October 19th, 2025, and it is certainly no wives' tale. Coming up next in the Hanover Theatre Broadway series will be another blockbuster musical, Chicago, beginning January 9th, 2026. For tickets and more information, make sure to visit the Hanover Theatre box office in Worcester, or you can contact them at 877-571-SHOW, that's 7469, or email info@thehanovertheatre.org. Note, this review is for a show that's already passed. Theater at the Mount in Gardner sets sail with the Cole Porter musical Anything Goes, and it is definitely a show that will keep your toes a-tapping and heads a-scratching. Involving the silly antics aboard an ocean liner bound from New York to London, the book for the 2-act musical was actually a collaborative effort by Guy Bolton and P.G. Wodehouse, later revised considerably by the team of Howard Lindsay and Russell Crouse. Anything Goes features many Porter standards, including You're the Top, Friendship, To Lovely, All Through the Night, and I Get a Kick Out of You, all faithfully staged at the Mount by director Craig Cormier and choreographer Allison Hall, supported musically by an impressive orchestra conducted by musical director J. Senja Morgan. When you look at the libretto, the actual story for Anything Goes is actually about 3 pages compared to the music portion, which is about 120 pages. Okay, that's a lie. It just feels like that, since whatever story exists is so preposterous, with multiple plot points and dialogue that makes such little sense that thankfully the story has been fairly well smothered with a pillow by the Porter score. The above complaint supports that while Anything Goes is a fun show to do, with exciting, vibrant dance numbers, 2 of which, the Act 1 closing title number and the second act Rouser Blow Gabriel Blow, are probably the best numbers in any musical ever written, but it is still a tough show to sit through if you're trying to make sense of, well, anything. In what little story does exist, we meet Billy Crocker, played by Mike Ross, a young Wall Street broker at a bar when he tells his friend, evangelist turned nightclub singer Reno Sweeney, played by Don Ross, that he has fallen in love with heiress Hope, played by Ilana Whitaker, a beautiful woman he had a whirlwind romance with at a party. Mike Ross is quite amusing as Crocker, who has been instructed by his boss, Mr. Whitney, played by Michael Dixon, to sell a critical stock as he prepares to set sail to London aboard the SS American. In prior incarnations of the script, Billy tends to be rather one-dimensional. In this latest version, he's far more witty and takes far more chances, usually leading him into trouble. But as fate would have it, Reno and Hope are also traveling aboard the very same ship. Again, don't try to overthink things, just go with it. While Billy considers Reno a friend, Reno obviously has feelings for Billy, feelings of which Don Ross emotes quite well as she sings the classic Porter tune, I Get a Kick Out of You. Billy stows aboard to prevent Hope from marrying her fiancé, a foppish British nobleman named Lord Evelyn Oakley, played by Che Tower Hughes, at the behest of her overbearing mother, Evangeline Harcourt, played by Terry Luton's Hyde. Also sneaking aboard for different reasons is Moonface Martin, a.k.a. Moon, hilariously played by Tom Hardy. Moonface is a second-rate gangster labeled Public Enemy Number 13, who aboards the ship with his Public Enemy Number 1's girlfriend, Irma. Hardy is completely dominating as Moon, who, again, inexplicably likes and helps Billy, who is absolutely overboard in love with Hope. During Act 2, in one of Moon's best numbers, he tries to cheer up an incarcerated Billy with the philosophical, be like the bluebird. The remainder of the ensemble is made up of Passengers, Crew, and Reno's Angels, which includes Charity, played by Amanda Lawton, Chastity, played by Gillian Whitney, Purity, played by Kristen Carpenito, and Virtue, played by Brianna Pascal. By the way, you may have noticed this yourself, but at no time is it suggested that Hope join Reno's girls. although it would have almost seemed like a match made in heaven, pun intended. As Billy and Hope, there's little chemistry between Mike Ross and Whitaker, and the same problem exists in the budding romance between Don Ross as Reno and Tower Hughes as Hope's fiancée, Sir Evelyn, weakening any romantic expectations. And yet, since we can already tell just how this story is going to end, we will once more give the overall plot a pass and just enjoy the singing and dancing. Among the top-notch musical numbers, there's It's Friendship, sung by Reno and Moon, which is a great moment, breaking the fourth wall and conceding just how silly this show is to the audience. The crew of the ship includes fine performances by Jeremiah Reardon as the ship's captain and Haley Black-Murphy as the ship's purser. Just want to also mention the ensemble highlights include some excellent choreography and dance performed by sailors played by Blake Ross, Michael Audette, Evan Piscatello, and Timmy Chase. In the numbers that include There's No Cure Like Travel, Bon Voyage, or Bon Voyage, There'll Always Be Lady Fair, All Through the Night, again for some inexplicable reason, and in Irma's Buddies Beware. The sailors are also prominently featured in the above-mentioned title number and as other characters in Blow, Gabriel Blow. The musical voyage of Anything Goes ends at Theatre at the Mount in Gardner on October 12th, 2025. Don't miss the boat. Get your tickets to the show now. Up next at Theatre at the Mount will be Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, running from November 28th through December 2nd, 2025. New Players Theatre Guild offers up a spooky season treat with Blithe Spirit, a somewhat dated yet still revered comedy by Sir Noel Pierce Coward. Under the capable direction of Martha Brooks, turmoil results from a confrontational relationship between competing wives Elvira and Ruth, separated by an astral plane. That's right. One wife is very much alive, while the other one, well, isn't. Yet still the two Mrs. Condamines are combative as they deal with a disastrous situation. The NPTG creative team has created a fine-looking set that is also deceptively clever as it is revealed by the show's conclusion. The 7-person NPTG cast provides an impressive presentation of the rather archaic material that still conjures up a huge dose of laughter. Subtitled as An Improbable Farce in 3 Acts from the outset, it should be noted that Coward's story is extremely dated, and to best enjoy it, one must accept it as a product of its bygone era. The NPTG show in Fitchburg has 2 intermissions, one short 5-minute one between the first and second acts, and then a 15-minute intermission between acts 2 and 3. Although Blithe Spirit is a long show, the NPTG production's pacing is solid with expedited scene changes. Costuming for the time period is both colorful and period-specific. Coward's writing has a droll, dry wit, dry as arid as a desert, but Blithe Spirit maintains a charm associated with watching an old black-and-white movie. After a seance goes wrong, a writer must deal with the antics of his current wife, as well as the menacing ghost of his first wife. Blithe Spirit debuted in London's West End in 1941, where it ran for a whopping 1,997 performances before closing in 1946. The show would make its Broadway debut also in 1941, first at the Morosco Theatre, then moving to the Booth Theatre, where it ran for 657 performances. The play is set in Kent, London, in 1937 and is performed by actors with an acceptable level of English accents. We meet celebrated author Charles Condamine, played by John Lynch, who lives on a lavish estate in Kent, England, with his second wife, Ruth, played by Pamela Rabia. As events unfold, it is hard to root for the couple given their boorish personalities and lifestyle, but the actors, under the direction of Brooks, do their best to make them more relatable. While needing to seriously suspend disbelief as to the quote-unquote middle age of Charles, as played by Lynch, the actor is simply marvelous in the role of the stodgy, stoic, and completely patriarchal Charles. Charles' erudite, sophisticated personality is balanced by an equal dose of soothing humor and calm, but that calmness soon gets upended by an unexpected visitor from his past. As Ruth, Reba provides a commendable performance as Charles' wife, although the character, as written by Coward, has an elitist, spoiled, immature demeanor, even when she tries to be supportive of Charles as things go awry for him as the story progresses. The duo has equally boorish friends, Dr. Bradman and his wife, played by Kevin McGee and Carolyn Salter, over for dinner. McGee and Salter offer up some fine performances of the couple, but as written by Coward, they're barely on stage long enough to really connect with them. The entertainment is in the form of a seance conducted by the eccentric medium Madame Arcati, played by Carol Allard Vansel. The seance is preceded by conversations between Charles and Ruth about Charles' long-dead first wife, Elvira, played by Amy Newberg, who passed on 7 years early. Vansel as channeler Arcati has a complete grasp of the eccentric character and brings a lot of laughs at nearly every turn. While anticipating a night of laughs, the night proves to be hardly fun and games for Charles. Unknown to Arcati, Charles is having her conduct the seance as part of his research for a new novel he's writing. But as a result of the seance, Arcati actually conjures up the spirit of Elvira, and that is where the iconic Coward tale really takes off. Amy Newberg gives a formidable portrayal of the mischievous spirit of Elvira. As only Charles sees and interacts with her presence, Elvira wastes no time in causing mayhem between Charles and Ruth. That said, you need to really, even with its dated material, Bly's Spirit is clever and funny, and ultimately it is the collective performances by the NPTG cast which makes the play well worth seeing. To see and read the rest of this review, please visit METRMag.com. Bly's Spirit continues from New Players Theatre Guild in Fitchburg until October 19th, 2025, so make sure to catch this spirited production before it vanishes forever. For tickets and more information, contact 978-345-6570 or visit nptg.org. Hi, I'm back. Just a reminder again that the shows listed and reviewed on METRMag and on this podcast are a mere sampling of the great theater that's happening all over the state of Massachusetts. If any group has been missed, it's not intentional, and I hope you'll continue to email information to reviews@metermag.com so we can get you listed on the website and also maybe talk about you here on you and your shows here on the podcast. Now, next week we'll have reviews, new reviews for you, which will include the show Death Trap, which I just saw last night at Calliope Productions in Boylston, and also we'll be reviewing the Share Show, which debuts next week at North Shore Music Theater in Beverly. So here's hoping that everyone has a great weekend, and until next time, here's also hoping that you'll take some time to see what's happening in Massachusetts theater. Thank you very much and have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.